What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture. Today's video is continuing my detective search into the ongoing Spawn 306 Nether Realms variant controversy. Again, folks, you may think that I'm late to this party, I'm late to this discussion. I am a little bit, but it doesn't matter because it's something that still is on the minds of a lot of people, that still a lot of people are talking about, and that I recently gathered more information to move the conversation forward. Before we get into the video, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, take the time to do so. Check out all the links in the description below as well, including the link to today's sponsor, SpiderDudeComics.com. I'm going to take less than 60 seconds to give them a big shout out right now before we get into this video. Today's video was sponsored by my good friends over at Spider Dude Comics. You can check out their links in the description below. You guys can save 10% off of any order by using the code JOURNOS10. This code never expires. And also, if they have any other promotions going on their website, you can always piggyback the Journos 10 to get that extra 10% off as well. You can search by Marvel or DC or certain ages like Silver to Golden, or your favorite characters like mine, Spider-Man. You guys can see a little bit of what they got going on here. Again, Silver Age to modern books. Stuff is extremely well priced. If you know me by now, you know that I only push those that I truly support and that I truly believe in. So again, guys, go check out SpiderDudeComics.com. You can also follow them on Instagram, and you can check out their YouTube channel by finding their link in the description below or finding their YouTube link on their website. All right, everyone, so let's get into this. I recently did a video a couple days ago talking about my thoughts on this issue and how everything is not adding up here. And I discussed all the controversies surrounding Bill from Buckys Comics, who released almost 100 copies all at once onto eBay at $1 start bids. Now, what's been going on up until this week recently is that Buckys Comics has been getting a lot of flack, a lot of pushback, saying that there was a lot of unethical things going on there with him, and he was manipulating the market, etc. Now, I am going to reiterate that even with what I know today, I did speak with Bill from Buckys Comics, so big shout out to him for even allowing me to reach out to him to have this discussion. If I was Bill, would I have done things differently? Absolutely, but that's just me. And do I believe optics and perception matters? Absolutely. In hindsight's 2020, right? But if we talk about moving the needle forward on this conversation, and we talk about accountability and actually changing things for the better when it comes to this comic book hobby and industry, and how we deal with situations like this when it comes to like exclusive variants or limited print runs or destroying books, and being trustworthy of the kind of the artificial scarcity of how these books are created on the market. This conversation absolutely matters. Okay, from my conversation with Bill, this is what we know. And again, you got to take everything with a grain of salt, because this is everyone's own perception. This is everyone's own take on the situation, interpretation of the situation. But let's put the quote unquote facts together as we know it. The biggest factor in what drove the market came from this statement right here. I am on Key Collector's website, and it's this statement that came from the editor-in-chief at Todd McFarlane Productions. Relayed this message, and it's been read. You guys have probably all heard it. Because of this statement, people still thought that there were roughly about 50 books out there, and that every other book was destroyed. I'm going to read just this part right here. The rest, along with all the other free swag, was trashed due to the cost of shipping it back to the MK offices. We have worked with them before, MK offices, so there is no reason to believe that this was not the case. I think it would be fair to say that less than 50 copies exist out there in the wild at this point. Here's the facts from individuals such as Bill, who obviously came into possession of 100 of these books. What do we know? An LCS in Southern California, assumedly to be Anaheim, came across at least 300 copies plus of this book. That LCS owner made a deal with Bill from Bucky's Comics and another associate to divvy up these issues to about 100 apiece. It's word from this LCS owner that he acquired them from a random mom who had a son or daughter that actually participated in the Nether Realms Mortal Kombat video game event that happened in Chicago in 2020. Now, for those that don't know, again, I'm going to reiterate. This was a video game contest event that was canceled to the public, but the event actually continued to, it played out, it happened. There was just no audience there. That's why only 50 copies were supposedly in existence, because it was to the participants and their plus ones. Everyone, all the other ones were destroyed. What's also quote unquote fact is that Bill and his associates acquired these books from this LCS owner in Southern California somewhere around July and had them for about 6 weeks before Bill went public with saying, look, there's X amount of copies out there that we know of. I'm putting, these 70 something copies that he had at that point online. Now, one thing that I forgot to ask Bill that I wanted to ask him was if when he received the collection from the LCS owner, if there was already graded books, or if once they got them, they sent some in to CGC to get graded. Now you have that 6-month period. So it does seem like 6-week period. So it does seem like that there was time for Bill to send those out, probably fast track them. I sent some books out around, I think, May in Moderns. They came back after like 3 weeks. So it was crazy. So he could have fast tracked them, et cetera, et cetera. But if this LCS owner had graded copies with him from the woman, that's another big question mark, but I don't think that may have been the case. Now, there's also Reddit posts about somebody that worked at the offices of the NetherRealm offices that had listed 20 of these books up for sale. So this is my point of this video. And you guys know me at this point. I talked about the C2E stuff last year, and I got a lot of flack because I'm all about holding people accountable, but I'm about doing it in the right way. I'm not about being reactionary. I'm not about sensationalizing these issues, and I'm not for picking up pitchforks. I heard that Bill from Bucky's Comics was getting like threats, personal threats, and that's just not right. Does Bill have to own up to the fact that, hey, he put his hands in a pot of something that was already boiling? And, like I said, optics are one thing. And I think if I was in Bill's position, I would have to own up to that and say, okay, I understand how the optics look. Like for me, I wouldn't have sat on him for even 6 weeks. I don't know if he sold any issues or if he sold a few issues. He said he did sell a few issues at cons. If he was telling those people that he was selling it to, like, look, there's more than 50 out there. Me and my associates bought like 300 copies. So, and he allowed them to buy it at a price knowing that's fair in one thing. But I would have not sat on him for 6 weeks because, again, it's about optics. I'm not saying that Bill did anything willfully, unlawful or unethical, but optics matter. Now, you got to give credit to Bill for when he finally did put them all up online. He was completely transparent. He did a Instagram post that said, look, this is what happened. There was, 3 associates, and we split 300 plus copies this way. I'm putting all mine up so you guys can decide $1 start bids. I think that's extremely fair, and to be honest, I think probably a majority of people that were in his position, that would be in his position, probably wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have done that because, here's the thing too. Bill took a loss because when he did that, his 9.8s were selling around $800 and $900. Right now, even knowing that there's at least 300 to 500 copies out there, 9.8s have now doubled from that point. They're selling for close to double. They're selling for about 1,500 now, 1,600. So they've already gone back up. All right. So we all may sit here and agree that, maybe certain individuals could have done this a little different ways, and it's all a learning lesson for everyone involved. But where do we put blame? Right here. I'm sorry, right here. Now I'm going to tell you guys what I'm doing. I've reached out to NetherRealm Studios. I have called them, I left a message, I sent them an email, and I've also reached out to Image. And if anybody cares about this, and you want to do something, you want to be proactive and productive and not counterproductive and just make memes on Instagram or go on a YouTube channel and rant and rave. If you want to be productive about accountability and moving this hobby forward and building it and evolving in the right direction, contact people, email them. Here's a bunch of emails. You could go on Image's website, contact Todd McFarlane Productions. That's what I'm doing, because I'm going to tell you right here, this is where talk about who dropped the ball. I said it briefly in my last video. I'm going to say it again here. Todd's team, editor-in-chief at Todd McFarlane Productions, should have never made this statement. If he didn't know, if he wasn't extremely confident in his convictions that the MK offices in the NetherRealm, everyone that was involved in that event, if he wasn't completely confident, he should have never made the statement, or maybe he prematurely made the statement before even going back and communicating with them. If I was him, I would have been like, okay, Nick with Key Collector, let me get back to you. I'm going to contact the MK offices. I'm going to contact NetherRealm, whoever was involved in taking care of all those goods after the event. I would have said, look, who was on charge of cleaning up? You guys told me that you were going to dispose of them. I'm reiterating. I know it's a couple years later, or at this point, it was like maybe a year and a half later, when they reached out to Nick. I need to know for sure who was there that day. I need to talk to those associates. Was there's a supervisor supervising the event over those associates? This statement right here is what continued to carry the perception for the consumer on the secondary market that there was only 50 out there. Now, another thing that I have trouble believing is this mom. And even Bill from Bucky's Comics said, I asked him, what do you feel about this random mom bringing these books in? Because you have an event that's in Chicago, and this mom that has a kid that's participating in this event, you got 300 plus books that this mother was in possession of. How does this mother get those books from Chicago to Southern California and sit on them for almost or roughly 3 years? And not only did they have to take them from Chicago to Southern California, but then they sat on them for 3 years. It makes no sense. And even Bill himself was saying that he believes this could have been a situation where whoever picked them up from the event knew what they had. They knew what they had. They knew what they were doing, but it doesn't make sense, folks. And then it seems that other people may have went into these boxes and just maybe grabbed a handful. That I can absolutely see that happen. If I'm working in an event and I'm cleaning up and I see this box of comics that is just laying there, and I'm like, oh, well, I'll grab 10. I'll grab a few that I could just grab with my hand and, throw in my car or in my bag or something like that. That could have happened. And then whatever was left in the box, maybe one of the participants or maybe even an employee of the event, maybe they're a young employee and their mom, and I don't know. So I hope to have one more video on this subject in the near future, because I think it's very important to understand how something like this happened. And I think everybody needs to be held accountable. If NetherRealms themselves or Todd's production team, whoever is involved in saying there's this event that there's many different entities involved, and multiple entities are all participating in the creation and the distribution of a limited run comic book that understanding the comic book market, they know is going to have a value once it is released on the second market. Now, again, there's no laws against this. There's no laws saying that, well, they needed to know, that these things are valuable and people pay a bunch of money for them. It's not everyone's fault, But again, if you look at somebody like Todd McFarlane and Todd McFarlane's team, who is involved in comics, you know, for the sake of the industry that you work in, you could be conscious of these things. But there is the bigger issue of people that may have worked for the MK Studios, NetherRealm, whatever, that actually took these books knowing that they could flip them and make a profit off them. And that becomes problematic, especially if they're supervisors or if the word from McFarlane team or the MK Studios, whatever, to these worker bees was to destroy the books and they didn't. That's a problem. And that's where accountability needs to lie. And again, I just think moving forward, this is a lesson for everyone to learn. And the biggest thing is, because I'm talking to all of you and my viewers who are collectors, who are consumers of comic books. And I give a big shout out to Key Collector for issuing these warnings. And I give a big shout out to Comic Tom, who actually said in his video that he released over a year ago, saying this could be the rarest Spawn variant, Tom McFarlane variant out there, or it could be a big issue because people are gonna think that it's something that it's not. And it ended up being something that it's not. So my advice to you all again, be educated, ask the right questions, don't FOMO out, and really think about what it is that you're purchasing and think about those purchasing decisions before you pull the trigger. So again, I would love to hear all of your guys' thoughts in the comments below. I really hope to hear back from somebody from NetherRealms, Todd's team, etc., etc. You know, am I optimistic about that happening? They're probably like, we don't care about this anymore. We moved on from this. But again, everything in the comic book world is interesting to us that love it and enjoy it. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Be well, and until next time.